Hello and welcome to Underrated Overhated, the podcast where I, Big Yellow Praxis, chat about music that I think is underrated or overhated. So this episode I am joined by the lovely folks over at Fire the Canon. Do you guys want to say a quick hello to everyone?
I'm Rachel. I'm one of the hosts.
I'm Jackie. I'm the other host.
I'm Theo. I produce Fire the Canon.
Yeah, and we basically make jokes about classic literature.
So today...
So why, Jacob, did you ask us to be on your music podcast?
Yeah. Well, so today we were talking about a song which is it's at the intersection. It's relevant to the interests of both our podcasts. So this is an episode about Wuthering Heights by Kate Bush. So this is obviously named after and vaguely, I guess, about the classic Victorian novel of the same name by Emily Bronte. So it was Kate Bush's first... Vaguely, I mean, you let's get into it. I mean, it's a pop song. It's a 3.5 minute pop song. It can't cover all the bases. It's a novel. So yeah, this was Kate Bush's first single. I mean, everyone knows this. I'm kind of going over material that we all know about. Well, everyone should know about this.
I don't think everybody does.
Last time we talked, I had not heard this song before.
So I was gonna say that.
Despite the fact that I'm pretty sure Rachel and I have sang it in front of him at karaoke.
He tuned us out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, that's just prudent anyway. Anyway, yeah, so this was Kate Bush's first single. It was released in 1978, and it was also on her debut album, The Kick Inside. I mean, it was huge, in Britain at least. I didn't actually look up the kind of USA charting history, but it was huge all over Europe, Australia, and New Zealand as well. And I believe it was the first number one in the UK that was like self-penned by a female artist, and I don't know whether that's true in the USA because I don't know whether. Well, I was gonna say I don't know whether that wasn't the case in the USA because they'd already had a number one by a self-penned female number one, or whether they hadn't even by that point and this just didn't get them to number one there. I'm not sure.
Surely there was like a Dolly Parton song that hit number one, right, in the US?
I don't know. But before 1978, maybe not.
I'll Google it.
We'll Google it.
What about like Stevie Nicks or something?
True. I mean, so Rumours was a huge album, but were any of the individual singles number one? I mean, that's the thing. Like, number one is very particular, isn't it? Like, if Stevie Nicks got to number two,
it is very particular.
It is, yeah. If she got to number two, it's not counted. So it's like if you're not there, you're not there. So I don't know. I sense that Rachel is looking it up. So
we have a hard ass on today.
Anyway, so I was going to say, so I know that two of you are already big fans of this song, but I'm quite curious to start actually with Theo's reaction because I gather that it is quite fresh to you, that you'd not heard it before. I'm not sure if you knew Kate Bush generally before.
No.
So let's go kind of backwards here because we'll get to the literariness of it in a bit. But just as someone who's got like a fresh reaction to it, Theo, go on. What are your thoughts?
I mean the chorus is like pretty, it hits you. It's pretty memorable, and I think, I mean, it's pretty weird. I can't really understand what she's saying at all, and the melody takes such weird directions, and like the. I don't know, like all the the meters in the chorus are so strange. Like it feels like there's always like you're dropping a beat somewhere, and I don't know. I kind of like that about it. And then I really love the guitar solo at the end. But
yes, yeah, it's a great guitar solo. Yeah. Any more? Just general? Is that all of our thoughts? Come on, rip into it, or be as effusively, praising as you wish.
Go on, Jack.
Oh, I thought this was all the Theo segment.
I mean, it's open to the floor, I guess. But if that's all you have to say, Theo, that's obviously that's
maybe I'll come up with
fine.
other stuff to say later. Yeah.
But the point about the chorus is good because it feels like very, particularly through the verses, there's this kind of winding chord progression that is just like, wait, what? Why did we go there? And the melody is a bit, and then we get to the chorus, and it does feel like it's almost like the skies have cleared, kind of harmonically and melodically, because it's much more straightforward, and that's not like typical, I guess, necessarily of Kate Bush, but there's quite a few songs, especially in the early days, where it's like quite weird through the verse, and then we have this chorus that just opens up into like it's almost like a sense of clarity through this chorus.
I agree with that. Like the chords are they become much simpler. But I still feel like they're not always on the beat you expect them to be on.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like it feels like sometimes the harmonic rhythm, like where the chords are placed in the meter, it like becomes syncopated and everything. It's I don't know.
Yes, yeah.
It's kind of nice.
Kind of nice.
Yeah.
So one last question to Theo, because I'm quite curious. What did you think of her vocals?
I don't know.
Beyond not understanding a word she said.
Yeah, just very strange and definitely.
What do you think of the timbre of her voice? I mean,
I like a weird voice. Don't get me wrong.
Don't get him wrong.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, I like a weird voice, but I mean, I don't know. I think I appreciate that she is leaping around so much. Like it doesn't feel like the sort of melody that you would just happen upon, like, or a normal person, I guess, would just sort of like happen upon in their head, just like hum it or something like that. Like it feels like I would imagine she had to work this out a bit to like come up with the melody, because it's pretty, I don't know, a little more complicated than what you normally get.
It's a bit of a leaping gazelle of a melody.
Yeah, you could say that. Is that a common
bouncing
phrase?
around? No.
Well, when you said that she's jumping around a bit, I was like, oh, has he been watching the music video? I assume he's referring
I mean,
to that.
she is literally jumping around.
Yeah. It's so I was just gonna say, it's quite. Have you guys heard? She re-recorded like the vocal take in the mid '80s. For what reason? I'm not 100% sure.
I was gonna mention this because I grew up listening to a version of the song that is not the version I can find anywhere.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not. I wonder which one are you? It's hard to like
I don't know
describe
which
one
one I
you're
like.
hearing. But which? So the one you've heard more recently on Spotify. Does it sound? Because when she re-recorded, she redid the vocal. I think she primarily just redid the vocals. I think like the backing track, the instrumental was pretty much all the same. It sounds like remixed in some way, and it sounds a lot more reverby. It's a lot more typical of like her 80s stuff. But on the original 1978 one,
sounding.
yeah, is that the one you've been hearing on Spotify?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that potentially is the one you may have been hearing as well, Theo. Well, it depends where you've been listening to it.
It could
because
be.
on the original 1978 one, it's like she's gone full on witchy. There's no other way to describe it. It's like full on witchy. I'm just really curious because for my Spotify, it shows both. I wonder if it's a UK thing. But yeah, it's weird that I never really understood why she would redo it. But anyway, so right, okay, Theo, I'm trying to squeeze a bit more praise out of it
Get some
than
juice
what you're giving.
out of Theo. Yeah.
You're gonna have to keep talking till you say something really effusive.
Well, I'm wondering. I mean, the version that I listened to is, I guess I don't know which one it was. It sounds witchy to me, but maybe it was even witchier. But
yeah, I was going to say the baseline for witchiness is already pretty high.
Yeah, but it felt a little bit like her vocals are like pretty far, like they're kind of quiet in the mix compared to the other stuff. And I was wondering maybe she would have re-recorded them to get like, I don't know, to make them more
that might be in the re-recorded one. I think the re-recorded one is like a lot more reverby, whereas the original one, it's kind of like her voice. I think her voice matures through the 80s, and I think it does sound better by like the mid and late 80s anyway. But like early on, it works. The original recording works for this track because it's like full on witchy. Again, there's no other way to describe it, so I'm going to keep saying that. But yeah, let's not try to get to the bottom of this because it's impossible to describe timbre just using words, like especially if you've not heard the other one.
All I can really describe as the difference, and I please don't put this into the final edit. Are you editing this?
Well, I probably won't edit out this bit because you specifically requested that I do.
Well, I'm just trying. God, you're such a Theo. I'm trying
Learn from the best.
Yeah, I'm trying to synthesize what I think is the difference, because in the new version that I don't like as much, the new to me version anyway, she says, Heathcliff, let me in, it's me, Kathy, let me into your window. God, hold on. I'm trying to think of how she says it though. I've come home, I'm so cold, like that. But I feel like in the original version,
no, I'm pretty sure she sings
it
in
so flat.
I'm pretty sure she sings it in key actually.
I think she might have, yeah. What, that wasn't witchy enough for you? I've come home, so cold. No, so do you know what I mean? There's a difference there at that part.
I do, and I know
it falls flat.
Anyway, enough talk of these witchy vocals. It's entirely my fault that we're even talking about it. But you know what? Let's try to talk about it in terms of its literariness for a bit, because I'm going to have to admit this is where you guys are going to have to step in. I've not read Wuthering Heights for a very, very long time.
Oh, I
and
thought you were going to say you never read it.
and I realized, like, going over it again, I was like, I always got confused between the Kathy and Catherine thing, and like it's just not helpful. Like, I love this song, but even as someone who loves this song, I'm still just like, I don't really pay that close attention to the lyrics. It's about the vibe, it's about the gothic vibe and that kind of, the witchy vibe again. Can we have a brief, I don't know, overview of the kind of literary connections? Who's best to step in here? Theo, I think.
The best.
Oh, no.
Probably me, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is this song, what happens in the song, it seems like it takes its inspiration from like a couple paragraphs in an early chapter, and then she just kind of expands on it a little because Theo's favorite part of the book was the ghost part. And the ghost is
his
actually...
favorite part was definitely the dead
oh,
rabbits
right, the
part.
dead rabbits.
That didn't make it into the song.
But if you want to hear about the dead rabbits, listen to our first Wuthering Heights episode. So
I didn't give you permission for that plug. What's going on?
actually, when I was in high school, or I think I listened to this song a lot, early or all throughout high school, but I had read the book maybe in middle school and not paid that much attention to it. And so this song was most of my touchstone for Wuthering Heights. So when we went back in to read it this time, I was thinking like, it was going to be much more ghosty and like much more of the gothic horror, and the impression that she gives of Heathcliff in the song is totally different from what he seems like in the book, like completely different.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was going to say, because in the song, at least, it seems like he has been cruel to Kathy.
Right.
Kathy calls him cruel every single time. And so when I read, because I think the reason I read Wuthering Heights was probably because of this song. So I grew up listening to the song since I was like a baby, and then read Wuthering Heights, and I was like, he's not her master at all.
Yeah. And when she says, like, I'm looking at the lyrics now, when she says, like, I hated you and loved you, it's like, no, she didn't hate him.
Nope.
She didn't hate him at
just
all.
loved him.
Yeah, and it's just weird because, I mean, so parts of it, I'm just going to go through the song. So the song starts with the narrator talking about her childhood with Heathcliff running around outside on the Wuthering Heights, which like in the moors, and that's true. Like is what they did in the book. Like they were just wild kids who grew up together. They had this really special bond.
Yorkshire is actually still a lot like that today.
Oh, really? Just
Sorry,
a bunch of wild kids with special bonds running around?
Yeah, Yorkshire, North Yorkshire.
Yeah. Is it just pairs of two, like these tiny little gangs?
Yeah, it's just like gothic houses in the countryside and these wild children.
Yeah.
It's unchanged since 1847 or whenever this is written.
Sounds pretty
Like
good,
a single
actually.
meddling housekeeper kind of in all places at once somehow. Like you go to open your kitchen cupboard, there's Nellie. Just
Have you been there? That's uncanny.
Everyone's got a Nelly.
Yeah.
So in the second verse or the bridge or whatever, she talks about having dreams that she's going to die, which also happens in the book. So that's accurate. And then while she's singing, we find out that she is currently a ghost who has been like wandering around and is cold and wants to go back into Wuthering Heights and is like calling for Heathcliff. So this
Sorry, girl, but it's not that warm inside of Wuthering Heights either. You
Right.
might be better off just staying outside.
So this does happen, but Heathcliff never sees her ghost. The narrator of Wuthering Heights is named Mr. Lockwood, and he's the one who actually interacts with Kathy's ghost. It's but I mean, yeah, basically the song is great. It really is about like a teeny little part. Kathy ends up like she decides to marry someone else because she wants to like use his money to help Heathcliff advance in the world, and he hears her say that part and runs away. And he runs away before he hears her saying like, oh yeah, I'm in love with Heathcliff. He's like, we're the same person. We have the same soul. We're soulmates, blah, blah, blah. So he misses that part, runs off. When he comes back, she's married, and she ends up dying in childbirth, and he is pissed off about it. He tries to get revenge on everyone.
Hashtag just Victorian things, I guess. Dying in childbirth.
Yeah.
I was wondering. I wonder if that was like I wonder where the origin of that trope is, where someone hears something, they only get the first half of it, and then they run off, and then the second half of it is actually what they want to hear. Because you see all the way through, like, I don't know, every sitcom in the 90s. Like, is this the trope origin? That would be amazing if it is. Or is it as old as time itself?
I feel like you need to start saying things with the part that an overhearer would want to hear first, and then you get to the hard part after.
Just
That's what you do, the sandwich method. You say the good thing, then the bad thing, then the good thing again. So anyone overhearing doesn't get offended.
Well, but that would have to be like a meat sandwich, like the meat, bread, meat. You want the good stuff on the outside, and then you want like the hard to take part in the middle.
It's true.
No, I love bread.
Right?
Yeah, sorry, Jackie, can't relate.
No, I mean, that's true, but so what you're okay, so never mind. So
sounds like an awesome sandwich to me.
Well, Theo, you're going to love, and it's appropriate to this because it's a Victorian meal, I believe it was, the toast sandwich, which is
really
yes, yeah.
We've talked about this before, have we not? Because I told you that one of my favorite British recipes was toast water.
Oh,
toast.
Ugh.
Hey, that's what I had for dinner tonight.
You had toast water?
No.
That's why he's drinking a beer. Yeah.
Well,
beer is basically toast water.
Kind of is, I guess. What's toast water? I've not heard of this one. I can't remember
toast water is just toast, and you put it in some water, and you drink the water. Toast water.
What?
You don't ferment it.
What do you do about the soggy bread?
Is the water hot? Is the water
It dissolves into the water. It just becomes toast water.
How long does it have to sit there? What kind of bread?
What do you mean, what kind of bread? Toasted bread.
I think somebody was playing some prank on you, and then
it's not a prank. I have a book of recipes that it's like history through recipes or something, and then like post World War II Britain was toast water, so that's your legacy.
I mean, post World War II doesn't count. We don't count that, you know.
Well, we're still post World War II. Yeah. You're never gonna get out of this.
No, we don't count that either.
Everything you do now doesn't count.
Yeah. So anyway, like Rachel said, so Heathcliff is pretty mad about the fact that Kathy has died in childbirth with some other man's baby. And he goes on to basically torture the second generation of kids who live around Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange. So that would be Kathy's daughter, Catherine, Kathy's brother's son, Hindley, and then his own son with Kathy's sister-in-law.
Husband's wife or sister. Yeah. It's complicated. They're all kind of related to him, and he's like, I'm gonna orchestrate a love triangle to make these kids miserable, just like I had to suffer.
Well, you know what they say: the best revenge is living well.
That's true. Yeah. So when I was first on your podcast, little plug here for Fire the Canon, everyone should listen to.
We didn't say you could do that.
Him emphasizing that it's been more than once. Yeah.
It was to talk about, you know, classic rock songs based on like classic literature. And, you know, Kate Bush, if anything, you know, has shown some remarkable constraint, especially compared to some of the other songs that we tackled in that episode of your podcast, because, you know, it's a stonking great novel, and she's really just she's digested it, she's turned it into the quintessence of the book. I mean, she's, you know, not necessarily done it 100% accurately, but there's a hell of a lot of restraint in turning it into a 3.5-minute kind of art pop song, rather than as was the thing that people did in the 70s, you know,
a rock opera.
You know, rock opera.
Yeah. And this would have made an amazing. Theo, when you were listening to the song, was restraint the word that came into your head?
So subtle.
She really held back here.
I mean, I do appreciate it's not like a ballad that tells a story at all. It's just
It's not.
Is it?
It's just some ghost. It's just a ghost talking about how cold she is.
Yeah, like nothing changes, right?
Well, what's the difference between a ballad and just like a song about a thing that happened?
A ballad tells the story. Like, you have to have events that occur with a timeline. Yeah. And this, there's no through line. It's just a ghost being like, I'm back.
I'm cold.
Going back in for another verse.
Verse 2, still cold. Verse 3, did I mention I'm cold?
Yeah, in case you were wondering, still Kathy.
I had a fun little game to play. It's called Kate Bush or incel.
Oh,
So
This is
I'll give
gonna
you a
be
little
great.
quote. Every female you see at the piano is a Carole King. Most male music, this is me doing my incel voice, not all of it, but the good stuff really lays it on you. It really puts you against the wall, and that's what I like to do. I'd like my music to intrude. Not many females succeed with that.
ooh, it's got to be.
That
Kate
must have been a
Bush,
musical
right?
Oh,
incel.
yeah.
So is that a Kate Bush quote or an incel quote?
That's got to be
That's
Kate
Kate
Bush.
Bush.
That is great, but to be honest, I'm super lame. I've only got the one quote. I just came across it and I was like, that is like
That's
the
it.
I was like,
God,
this
there's
game
so
for
many
you.
others.
I know. I just didn't have them on hand. I literally found it like 5 minutes ago. I know. It's just, reading through it. I have read others
about-
that aren't too dissimilar, but it is quite funny. It's just, with modern sensibilities in particular, it's the whole like female, males. It's like that's now like an incel thing. It's hard to get past that.
Female and male are adjectives. They're not nouns. People just need to get that through their heads.
Is that like
No, man.
literally true?
Like, you can't say, like, oh, look at that group of females over there.
Really?
Like,
But you
that's...
just did.
But yeah,
I
but
know.
that dehumanizes them.
No,
Yeah.
it's true.
I don't know. I mean, what about the Kate Bush song where she sings about, like, woman's role is to be a gestator, basically?
What is that? This woman's
Is that a
work.
song?
Yeah, this woman's work. Well, yeah.
See, the problem with that song is that it's genuinely a brilliant song. I really like that
It's
song.
really
Like,
good.
Yeah, yeah.
But
yeah.
also, it
No,
was
it is.
written for a movie, so it's hard to be like, how dare you?
Well,
Yeah.
is that what the movie
I
was
didn't say
about?
how dare you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I think
called
that was the point of the movie or something.
All Women Are Gestators.
Yeah.
Film edition.
Have you not heard of that film? It was huge. I think it won a. It won an Oscar.
I mean, it's
didn't it?
almost called that. It's called She's Having a Baby.
Okay.
Well,
Oh
I
my
mean, that's
goodness.
kind of good that they made that the title instead of just an assumed thing. Like, oh, she must be having a baby. That's not even interesting to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Untitled film. You know what it's about. Like that.
Man,
Picture of a woman on the front. There's got to be a baby in there somewhere.
I really want to know all the musicians that Kate Bush doesn't like. Now that
Women.
I know she doesn't like Carole
What was
King.
Yeah. I mean, I think she's always, like, to some degree. I think this was from like quite an early interview. Firstly, and I think when she first started off, she was always very clear that she was mainly influenced by like guy musicians, and I think that was just what she grew up with, and I think it was like from her brother as well. And a lot of it is that kind of proggy stuff that, we talked about on your guys' episode. She was into King Crimson and I think Genesis and all this kind of stuff. I think it's a shame dissing Carole King. There's no need to diss Carole King. Jesus.
No need.
Yeah, no need.
Although
whatsoever.
I
That's
do.
very good.
Or all
I do
women.
have-
I think that's
Yeah.
also
Well,
not
sorry.
called
I
for.
mean, yes, okay, that's true.
I mean, look, all women are fine. Carole King is not
Yes.
in that category. She's above. I will put myself in that lower rung. But I do have an embarrassing confession to make. So when I was about Kate Bush's age, so 70 or so.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. When she was what? She was
Jackie's
like
a
9.
Benjamin Button person.
Yeah. You said she was like 19 or 20 when she wrote this.
Yeah.
How old do you think she was when she gave that interview?
Oh, for this, I think I saw it was like 1977, so she must have been about 19.
So she was pretty young.
Yeah.
I remember when I was about that age, I was in a creative writing class, and I told my professor, who was a woman, that
gosh.
I just didn't like any female poets. Like,
Oh,
I didn't have anything against
Jackie.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, I don't have anything against them. I genuinely just don't really. I feel like their work just doesn't speak to me as much. I don't know why. Maybe men just feel like they
Jackie.
can be more bold or something. I told you it's an embarrassing confession. Okay, I'm giving you everything.
I love
And
it.
now I
This is-
think back to that, and I'm just like, I love. There's so many like amazing women poets, and I was just like, it's not that I'm, it's not that I'm a sexist or anything. They happen to just
It's
not
just
be as
women aren't good. Yeah.
I'm just being straight with you. And I remember her being like, ew.
For anyone who's listening to this podcast audio only, you have to check out the YouTube, which will have video, because you just did the perfect face there, Jacqueline, for that emotion. You nailed it.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
But I followed it with an auditory ew. So that was
That's
all you
true.
needed.
Yeah.
That's
It
true.
was the expression that goes with that sound.
Yeah, come on. I'm trying to encourage people from Spotify. Both of my I'm trying to get both of my Spotify listeners onto my YouTube channel.
So you can quit putting it out on Spotify.
Yeah, one of these days, just streamline it.
Yeah, kill your darlings. If you like to listen to this on Spotify,
Yeah.
make it so that he doesn't put it out there anymore.
And I agree. I appreciate you being so, like, that was clearly a fresh story, because Rachel's reaction as well was fully disgusted.
I know, I've never told anyone that because it's so shameful.
Hey, look, I think if you're going to be like,
Rachel,
hey,
you don't have anything? You never
didn't
had
say
any
I
little
don't.
problematic ideas?
oh, we're
Yeah,
doing
well, I
this.
want you to say what it is, though.
I don't want to.
Are we doing a round table of
I think
embarrassing stories?
It's pretty normal, I think, for nerdy girls who grew up in the 90s and early 2000s to have a not like other girls period. Culture was so horrible to women that it's not surprising that a lot of girls would be like, I would like to distance myself from that, please.
But at least I didn't say, everybody wants to be like dumb old Maya Angelou. I didn't have to call out any particular person.
Like a particular great person, yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't think Maya Angelou is dumb.
Yeah, she chose her as an
I
example
will
because
edit
she's
that
so
bit out.
obviously not.
She's the Carol King of poets, right?
So yeah, it's a shame I don't actually have any more incel or Kate Bush quotes, but we could fill it in. We can we get the point. So yeah, what was
I mean,
I put my
that's
thinking
the
cap on after the question, and now it's over.
that's the only sentence I've heard of hers that she's said outside of this song. So I'm just assuming everything she says is basically like that now. Yeah.
Guys girls just don't want a good guy.
So interesting. Kate Bush was first discovered by David Gilmour, who I think got a hold of her some of her very kind of rough demos, and he kind of encouraged her to. Well, he helped her work on them and turn them into something a bit more professional. And that's kind of where her first album came about. I think she sent something like 50 tracks to him, which is, I mean, I don't know what kind of condition they were in, but, assuming they were half decent, that is a hell of a lot for a 17-year-old or 16, I think, when she first sent them in.
That's wild.
Well, think about it like this. At the time she wrote those, there were a lot fewer songs than there are now.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, she increased the total number of songs in the world by 8% just right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I hope this episode does not get fact-checked.
Yeah.
Snopes.
There was something else I was going to say about her voice there.
People hate it at karaoke. I think I may have told you, Jacob, that I wanted to do... There was one song of hers that my friend and I really liked that we wanted to do at karaoke. We were in Korea on this trip with people we didn't know. And we had all rented a room to sing in. And we were singing. We were looking for a different Kate Bush song. Couldn't find it. It did have Wuthering Heights, which is weird because I think we wanted to do Hounds of Love maybe. But every karaoke bar we ever checked, we would always look for Kate Bush songs. They only ever had Wuthering Heights. So we started singing Wuthering Heights in, of course, our flawless Kate Bush impressions. And I'm serious. We have pretty good Kate Bush impressions. And we had people leaving and yelling at us to stop.
It must have been because they were so good.
I mean, a lot of people don't like her voice, especially people I
know.
think British people are kind of inoculated to it. But these were a lot of Canadians and Americans who honestly had probably never heard the song before.
Yeah.
I will say that the few people that, have heard of her in my life do tend to hate her. So, unless you're Rachel, basically. My mom hates Kate Bush. My dad loves her. I always thought it was some kind of weird, maybe my mom was slightly jealous of Kate Bush. They look kind of similar. Maybe she was my dad likes Kate Bush more than me. I don't know. That was always my thought, but I think she just hates her voice. And then I was playing it in the car when I had a friend with me recently, and she didn't say anything about it at first, but I was just going through this I think it was a recording of a live concert that she did, and I was just do you know this one, or do you know this artist? She was like, yeah. I was like, do you like Kate Bush? She was like, I hate her.
So we've dunked on British cuisine, but I'm going to defend Britain, at least from the point of view of having a little bit more open mind towards pop singers kind of.
Oh no,
so this song,
I agree because you don't have that many people. You This is your pop music. You gotta learn to like it.
Okay, so even when you're agreeing with like a good thing about Britain, there's something in there. There's a little pet donut. That's
right.
fine. I will
Like they
accept
do
it.
have Adele, but not that many people. So
Yeah. So
well,
this,
that's
this
what you said on the last time we were on your episode. Sorry, but you had said
Sorry, but I'm interrupting.
UK is, well, sorry, I was just going to finish the thought. But I mean, you had said, that the UK is much better about like moving weird stuff up to the top of the list.
Well, so actually, this is where I'm going to start slightly put this down because this right. So this song isn't a novelty song, but it's pretty close, right? I mean, it does feel adjacent to a novelty song.
Yeah.
And British music is famous for the Beatles, the Led Zeppelin, Queen, blah blah blah, Pink Floyd, but we also consistently take to number one really fucking weird songs, like songs about combine harvesters. Do you know what the Wombles are? It's like a 70s. I don't even like.
Yeah, you put them
I
on the
accidentally
playlist.
Googled them yesterday. I was trying to Google
Accidentally
something
Googled.
else.
Like, did you fall on
It
your
was like,
laptop
do you
and
mean
it just
the
said
Wombles?
Wombles?
Like, what were you googling? Like, what's a wombat
She was
or
the
something?
cheeky numbles.
I don't remember what I was trying to. Steven had asked me a question. And I was trying to Google it to find the answer, and the Wombles popped up, and I was like, "What are the Wombles? Have you ever heard of this?"
Wow.
Google's suggesting it to me.
Do you think they paid Google to have it just say, "Did you mean this?" Like, no, like you just type anything even remotely close to it.
Like she typed in like enchilada recipe and it said, "Do you mean the
The
Wombles?"
Wombles, yeah.
Yeah, so the Wombles, I don't. They're like some kind of creature that lives in Wimbledon. It's not real, obviously. It was like a 70s kids TV show, and they had like a bunch of hits. They had like a Christmas number one. So Christmas number ones over here in the UK, well, not so much now, but they were just a complete mixed bag of just weird songs. Sometimes good, and sometimes it was just a thing, especially in the 70s music. I mean, broadly was weird.
So Love Actually got that right.
Right, having only seen that once, I don't know what exactly you're saying. Was there a Christmas
I just
song
didn't
in
know
it?
that Christmas number one songs were like a thing, but
Right,
there's
yes.
a guy trying to get to the top and he has this weird Christmas song that he puts out. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's most definitely a thing. And I think in about 2007, there was a big push to put Rage Against the Machine at number one. And I think it just failed, which was a shame. Yes, but yeah. So British tastes, I don't know why we're so accepting of the eccentric here. Maybe it's because we're so small and there's not many of them and we kind of have to.
Yeah.
But if there's one thing I can flex on it, is that we like weird music. Is that a flex? Yeah,
Sure.
I'll take it. Sure. Okay, I'll let you have that one. That's fine. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I have some excellent news for you.
Yes.
In 1980,
Just-
Kate Bush had a Christmas song. December will be magic again. I have a feeling it's going to be awful, to be honest. Maybe I should pretend I didn't find this.
Did it get to number
gosh.
one?
No, it looks like it got to number 29 in the UK.
Woof.
Ooh, nice.
You say
That's-
woof.
Like all the other weird stuff you guys like, and she couldn't even get it to number one.
That's true. I wonder what the Christmas. Right, I'm going to have to look.
Well,
up the
not
Christmas song.
only one person can be number one.
So this one's quite funny because I know this song. This song is a bit of a meme in the UK, and it just goes to. I mean, it's completely. It just exemplifies what I was saying. So the 1980 Christmas number one was St. Winifred's School Choir, and it was a song called "There's No One Quite Like Grandma."
Oh,
Oh man.
And I know that song. It's ridiculous. It's awful. It's not even like the good. It's not like Kate Bush ridiculous. It's just. I mean, it's a school choir singing about how grandma's great.
Is it so in America we have Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer? Is that
Oh yeah.
like the American version?
It's
British
Like there's no one quite like Grandma because no one else has been run over by
No,
a
it's-
reindeer.
it's a bit different tonally than that. Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Jacob, did you want to talk about your? You said Kate Bush was your first and only celebrity crush, so she must have had quite an impression on you.
So I was hoping specifically that we could avoid that. To be honest.
what?
Well, then you shouldn't have told us.
Why did you want to do an episode about Kate Bush?
And
Yeah.
then tell us this information.
I thought it could be like propagandizer on the sly. I didn't know you'd like reveal. all
Who
my
are you
secrets.
afraid will find out about this? Kate Bush herself?
Well,
Your
I did
real
think she was listening.
girlfriend.
Yeah,
Oh,
your
no,
real
let's not do
girlfriend,
this.
Karen.
No, it's just there's not
Look,
much.
it's not going to be like, I know my parents got divorced because my dad liked Kate Bush too much, but you don't have to be afraid.
Well, no, because I don't actually have a girlfriend, so I'm safe, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Rachel, you seem convinced of that. No.
I'm getting so
Finally, he
confused.
admits it.
No, I do. She just goes to a different school, okay?
Yeah. She's super busy.
Yeah. Anyway, we've done a rather circuitous route through Kate Bush, through I don't even like what Christmas number ones, but let's wrap it up. So let's I don't usually give ratings for songs, but I feel like we can do it here. What we're going to give Kate Bush for this tune? I'll go last, and Theo, you can go second.
Out of
last.
what?
Out of 7, 5 being the highest score.
Oh my gosh. I make that exact joke all the time.
I know, it's a very lame joke. I know.
I think we should rate it on a scale from 0 to 451, because at 451 it's so hot that it bursts into flames.
All right.
So
do
hot,
it.
hot
Okay.
damn.
Right.
And hot
okay.
is
Yeah.
good. We want hot songs.
I eventually
hot
got
is
that
good.
joke.
I will. So honestly, I listened to this song when I was in the car on the way to take the GRE for the second time, which is the test that you take in the United States to get into graduate school. And I was like, I'm gonna pump myself up. So I pumped myself up so much by listening to this song in the car. I was like, I'm gonna just really sing every single note of this. And by the time I got out of the car, I couldn't speak, but I did pretty well on the GRE. Humble brag. So I think Kate Bush really helped me out there. So I'm going to rate this a 451 out of 451.
Good score. Good score.
I would give it probably a 451, maybe somewhere in the 440s. But it's really good. If it was out of 10, I'd give it a 10. But it's just when there's so many points to award,
it feels weird.
I'm not sure if she
Why
gets
did I
every
do
point.
this?
I'm going to do it out of 10, and I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Or even a 5 out of 5. Whatever. But,
Yeah.
you know, I've liked it
Or
since
even
high school.
or even a 5 out of 7.
And there's a lot of songs that you don't like as much. As you get older, you realize, it was okay.
Yeah.
I think if I've liked a song for this long and I still think it's good, then I should give it a lot of points.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think what's so compelling about it is, yes, like the music, and you know, she's a good musician, but I think she just really channels that character, and I feel like she takes a character who is not ever given a first person perspective in the novel, and I feel like she really feels it. It's not exactly accurate, like we talked about. I mean, the feelings that Kathy in the book has do not seem to be the feelings that Kathy in the song has, but you just get this sense that like she's channeling something, and something is coming through her, and it's convincing, and it's compelling.
I think I would say before the guitar solo comes in, I'd probably give it about a 300. But then once the guitar solo comes in,
Oh, out of
it's
450.
going to be a 400.
Right.
Or maybe a 403.
3. Oh, wow. That's so precise.
Can I ask a question about that? Because the guitar solo is basically just the vocal line in electric guitar.
To me,
format,
it's
right?
like it feels like it's like the transfiguration of her soul or something, you know.
Oh.
And in
yeah.
the video, like she's singing, and then the guitar takes the note, and she puts her hand over her mouth in the video. It's like she's saying, like, "I'm not going to talk anymore.
You take
it's
it
just
from
gonna
here."
Be this, yeah, it's just going to be this like
Well, and
beautiful.
her
just
voice
essence
kind of
it.
melts into the guitar. Like you can't tell where one starts
Yeah.
and one ends.
Exactly. She's a freaking ghost.
She's
And
a
that's
Right?
what
Freaking
it says.
guitar ghost.
Yeah.
Theo, so if it was out of 5, would you give it a 5?
I think I'm going to give it a 4. I think I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
A 4 out of 5 is
What
less
is a-
than
what is a
400 out
hold
of
on.
451.
I'm aware.
What is a 5 for you? What is a 5?
What is
Tell
a
us an
5?
example.
Something by George Harrison.
Okay. Yeah.
Just
Oh,
anything by
okay.
George Harrison.
Just
It's a
anything.
5.
Sorry. The
I thought you were
song
just gonna say
titled
something.
I do agree, by the way. I mean, I do love something by George Harrison, but it's not about George Harrison. So, I think this is the kind of song. I mean, I agree there is something special about that guitar solo, and I think partly it's like the actual tone of it is just great, and it just fits in the mix perfectly. And I definitely think it's a brilliant addition to the song. Without which, would I score it less? I don't know. It's a kind of song that the quirkiness, the weirdness really lifts it to the next level, and it also helps that it's brilliant. But there's some like films, for example, that aren't technically amazing in many ways that I think, oh, like it has problems here or here. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen What Dreams May Come. It has Robin Williams in it. It's a great film, but because it has problems with it, but because it's so weird and unique, you just have to. I kind of have to give it like a really 2 big thumbs up anyway. So this song is in a similar kind of mode where it's like that, but it's also genuinely brilliant, and that kind of weirdness is always just going to set it apart. So I have to give it whatever, like a big superlative number, whatever we're rating out of.
Whatever you want.
451, we'll roll with that. 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, or 5 out of 7. Whatever we want to do.
I guess it feels like yes, it's a very good song, but it's hard to figure out where it would place between other songs because it's just so odd.
Yeah, like it's just on a different scale.
Yeah.
What if Something by George Harrison is about Kate Bush? Something in the way she just jumps around.
I think she would have been very young when he wrote
Yeah, I would hope not. On that note, thanks very much for joining me.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk a bit about your podcast?
So, Fire the Canon is our comedy literature podcast. We have been covering, basically, if you could call it a classic, we'll talk about it. So, we have covered The Wizard of Oz as a classic children's book. We're about to cover Dune in time with the movie. So, if you don't want to reread Dune or read it for the first time, come on over to our podcast and we're going to talk about it. We also, sometimes we do short stories. We just did a Dostoevsky short story for Jackie's birthday. Of course, we did Wuthering Heights. We've done The Odyssey, Pride and Prejudice, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. We've been all up in
We've done a smattering of poems, and we've done interviews with some really interesting people.
Anyway, and for anyone listening, thanks for listening. You can catch me on all the social medias as Big Yellow Praxis. It's nice and easy. So, thank you. Cheers. Farewell.
Nice.
Cheers.